Hey everyone, Shanta Jackson here, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others, and welcome to today's show. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so please do enter your questions and your comments in the chat box, and also go ahead and check in and let us know what city you are located in or what city you're watching from. Today, our topic is love and relationships. I have a panel today. I have a few guests. I actually have 4 guests. I have a married couple and I have 2 single individuals, and we all have different life experiences. We've, at some point in our lives, we've been single. We've been dating, very single, super single. We've been scared of commitment. We've been married, and some of us have been divorced and even married again. And so we'll talk about that. Again, we are streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube, so please do join us. And I'll bring my guests in. We have Dr. Tya and Reverend Brian Frelix from the Nashville area. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we have my cousin, Marquella Jackson from Las Vegas. And then we have Deante Young is in Antioch, California, in the Bay Area. And he is also the podcast host of Dearly Deep Heart ID podcast. And Deante actually interviewed me in the past. I was a guest on his show. And so I figured, you know what? I think it'll be fun to bring him on. And I'll step back and just kind of let everyone introduce themselves. We'll start with Tya and Brian.
Okay, my name is Dr. Tya Frelix, and I'm here with my husband, Brian, and we've been married for 3 years, a little over 3 years, and I am a high school teacher. I teach Spanish, and my husband is an assistant pastor, and I'll let him speak a little bit.
She's pretty much told you who I am. I am Brian Frelix. I am an assistant pastor, and she's a doctor. So I'm in a doctoral program. I'm a doctoral candidate, so she's not leaving me far behind. So that's who we are. We're here in Nashville. Well, pretty much Clarksville. We're about an hour away from Nashville, so pretty close.
And Tya is my childhood friend. Tya and I have been friends since 9th grade. So she is my sister friend, or she just refers to me when she reaches out to me as just sis. And so, and you two are my favorite married couple. Yes. And so then we have Marquella. You want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Marquella Jackson. 38 years old, born and raised in Las Vegas. Tya, hey girl. Hi, we went to Fremont together. Wow, it's amazing how you get to see people, later on in life. Beautiful person, Tya. Shanta, we're cousins. Heart been broke so many times. Yeah, that's me. I'm saved, but sometimes I don't be understanding God. I be praying to God about these people, these men that come into my life, and I'm like, God, I prayed, and I'm not quite sure what happened. You failed me. So that's kind of where I'm at in life. I'm trying to understand why he brought certain people in my life that failed me, and I'm back at it again.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
And Deante, tell us about yourself and where you're at in life.
Okay. Yeah. So Deante Young, I am 39, and I started my podcast about May of 2019. And I started my podcast because I went through a what I like to call now a pretty traumatic kind of like on and off breakup. So it was like the final breakup in 2019, and we had kind of started, talking about doing podcasts and, like YouTube shows and stuff like that. And so she kind of like left me right in the middle of, us putting things together. And I just carried it on. It was kind of like very therapeutic to, just do it myself and just get my story out and let everybody know like my side of things and, like what happened and where I was. And, again, this was a on and off relationship for about 10 years. So it was just like when she was done this time, she was like done, and this was my way of kind of like handling it. So still very single, as you said, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay. And I guess it's my turn, right? I guess it's my turn. So everyone, Shanta Jackson. And I am single. I am also divorced. I was married when I was 21. I had a boyfriend at 19. We lived together for a few years. I got married at 21. By the time I was 25, I was divorced. And I had my son in 2004. My son is 16 years old. I've been single really since 2006. That's when I got divorced. And I've dated. I've never lived with anyone. I've never had a serious relationship. I've had my heart broken and my feelings hurt a couple of times since then. And I know I have hurt other people as well, and within since 2006. And I'm open to love. I want it, but I'm not so sure if it will actually happen. And so that's where I'm at. And I'm already very comfortable, and I'm very pleased thus far. We've only been recording for 6 minutes now, and just your introductions and what you all have shared thus far, including myself, I'm very pleased, and I thank you for being transparent and for joining me today. And so today our topic is love and relationships. And throughout this conversation, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a particular order, but what I hope to get out of this conversation is for us to talk about love and how we define love. And we'll touch a little bit on our love languages, the 5 love languages. And then let's compare, is it better being single? Is it better being married? Are there pros and cons? What are the benefits of being single? What are the benefits of being married? And the X factor, I want to talk about exes, and not necessarily, and I think that, and what in my mind, I think it's exes and their role in your current relationships or your future relationships, and what is like boundaries and what's acceptable and what's not. And then, we'll just keep going. Expectations that you have for yourself and your partner, and any lessons learned. And I'm pretty sure all of that will just come out naturally in our conversation. And so joining us, we have, watching, should I say, we have Tonisha Lewis. And she says she loves her honesty. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but Tonisha, let us know which city you're watching from. And she also says that she's been there, done that, 10 years on and off, shake my head. And then we have Shalonda. Shalonda is watching from Woodbridge, Virginia. And also Tanisha says that she's loving the level of transparency on this topic. And we have Raquel. Raquel is watching from Las Vegas. She is a faithful viewer. Thank you, Raquel. And then also we have my mother. She's watching from Las Vegas. And she says, hello, everyone. Great show today, and happy Valentine's Day. And I love you too, Mom. And hi, Marquella and Tia. And she says she hears you, Marquella, about your comments that you made. So let's start with love. How do you define love? What does it mean to you? Deante, we'll start with you.
Okay. Love for me, I would start with what it used to mean to me, and putting in, the context of relationships. For me, it was just, someone who you had chemistry with, somebody who, you just felt that person's energy and vibe, and you just like loved it, and you did things together, you hung out, you played games, you went places, did all that kind of stuff. You had each other's back. But again, after this kind of up and down situation I was in, since it did really like hurt me a lot, I will never say it broke me, but it hurt me a lot. So what I really had to realize is that even that type of love starts from within, you know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of people talk about, now, but I had to like really find it, for myself. So for me, even that relationship type of love starts within yourself. Like if you're not fully loving yourself, and I mean like really in love with yourself to the point where even if somebody breaks your heart or leaves, you know, you should be totally fine. You should have enough love within you that it's not gonna matter. It's not gonna affect you that much. So that's where my journey is now, is becoming that person who, no matter, you know, what happens or the past or whatever, whoever I've dealt with, you know, whether they do it on purpose or not, I have enough love built up inside me now to where it's just like, okay, you can hurt for a minute, but it shouldn't overtake you. So that's my standpoint on, you know, pretty much everything now. Any experiences, you know, it's like it's all about me, to be honest, you know. And I have enough to give too. You know, I have enough to give, and I have enough to, you know, just keep all to myself. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I think love is now.
Thank you. And what about you, Brian and Tia?
For me, in the past, love it looked like how you feel about somebody in the good times, what they're doing for you, that kind of thing. That's what I thought love was in the past. What I've learned is that love is what you express to the other person. It's something that does not change because you're mad at them one day or you've had a rough season with that person. It just doesn't change because of that. And what I've learned from, you know, just discussions with my husband, we communicated with each other very clearly about love. And we've just talked, and it's just been something that you're not done loving until you die. You don't stop loving someone because you don't feel like it. Everything that you do for that person is an expression of your love. And if you love that person so hard, they'll reciprocate that to you. And so that's what my new definition of love is, you know, as I've lived and I've learned, it's that it's about your expression, your willingness to do it, even when you're tired and you're exhausted.
Okay. And what about you, Quella?
Oh, wow. You know, like Tia said, you know, it, and Deante, I think it was, I think, you know, it has transitioned so so much throughout, you know, your lifetime with experiences. But for me, love is unconditional. You know, it's something that doesn't waver with changes. I feel like it's something that no matter what, it's still there. You know, it doesn't leave you when times get rough. It doesn't decide that you know, I'm just gonna bail out on you because this wasn't what I signed up for. You know, we talk about agape love, you know, with God or whatever, but with people, they'll leave you in a minute when it's looking a little shaky. So it's hard to kind of put a wrap on what love is, because so many people have changed that definition for me, at least. But for me, it's really, I can bottle that up with saying it's unconditional. It's no matter how I look to you when I'm upset, or, you know, when I'm not feeling my best, you still have that for me. It's still there. It's, you know, it's never changing.
Okay. So go ahead, Brian.
I just want to add that I guess I would think it's somewhat of a religious view of it, but to me, religious meets with my regular life. It's not two separate things. It's one thing. So when I look at it, I look at love, and the definition of love that the Bible gives. The Bible says, greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for a friend. And so when I met Tia, the primary question I asked her one question early, like the first day. I said, what do you say love is? And I wanted to make sure she understood it's when you lay down your life for a friend, when you care more about their needs than your own needs. When you, I like when Deante said, you know, you got to have self-love. I didn't understand that until I started hating myself when I got divorced. And I was like, oh man, I'm in a bad depressive state. And I didn't love myself. So that makes sense. So now I can add what he said and add, I want to lay down my life for, you know, no matter what. Jesus Christ died for us. That's when he quit. That's when it all stopped, was when he died. So my job as the male is to lay down my life until I ain't got no breath left. So, and it's a lot of what Marquella said. I mean, she really said the exact same thing. So yeah, giving up your life and never fails.
So for me, I thought about this, and I said, you know what, I'm going to ask them what love is. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, what is love? And it depends, like you all said in the past, I guess it depends on what's going on in your current life and your experiences, and your definition of love changes. But like Marquella said, I think, so love is unconditional. But for me, love is an action, but it's also an emotion. And I think that love is good, but love is not enough. Tia, when you introduced yourself, and you were talking about you and Brian, one key word that you said that stood out to me was communication. So there's the love, but then there's the self-love, and there's communication, trust, respect. And so without those things, I think you continuously have to strengthen and grow your love, learn about yourself and how you love, and learn your partner. And I'll stop there. But again, to me, love, I think it's, like I said, it's an action, but it's also an emotional. But I think it's kind, it's patient. Love is understanding, and love is accepting of change. And I think love is also growth, and love is maturity, and willing to do that, and be willing to do that. So that's how I look at love. Really quick, I have some questions. I want to check in the chat box just to acknowledge everyone. And so Tanisha, she's checking in from Nashville. And when she was saying she loves her level of transparency, she was talking about Marquella. And we have Terry. Terry is checking in from Parkville, Maryland. And we have Latanya Gaston. Latanya is a mental health professional, and she's checking in from Las Vegas. And she's also a former guest on the show. So anyone, if you're interested in my conversation with Latanya, please do search my YouTube channel. And then we have Latoya Watry, my cousin Marquella's sister, watching from Las Vegas. And we have Kevin Lang. Kevin Lang is watching from Las Vegas, and happy Valentine's Day to you as well. And then we have Beatrice Collins, and she's in Las Vegas. And thank you. And she says hello, and she's looking forward to this discussion. And let's see, we have a lot of different comments. We have Shalonda. Shalonda says that love is unconditional. And she also says self-love is important. And Raquel says such valid points from everyone on here about the views of love. And I think that's important, just to understand that when you are pursuing a relationship with someone, that they may have a different definition of love, and they have their experiences. And I think in order for relationships to work, sometimes we have these ideas of what we think love is and how love should be, and we're not necessarily communicating and learning our partner to set ourselves up and create that foundation for a successful, romantic, loving, and healthy relationship. And then we have Kevin. He says his aunt, who lives in a $2 million home, told him that she would love his uncle if they lived in a cardboard box. They've been married for 54 years. Yes. And my mom, love is patient, love is kind, loving yourself. First, wash your hands. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So really quick, who taught you how to love? Marquella, what are your lessons? Think about your parents, and think about the adults and the people in your family. Thinking back, even if it wasn't necessarily a conversation, think about what you've witnessed, and conversations they probably had or did not have with you. What do you think they taught you about love?
Ooh, okay. So My parents have been married for 39 years. But I don't know if I would want their marriage. And that's no dig. It's just they're different. And when I say that, my mother is very passive. She's real like quiet. And obviously that's not me. She's, grew up in that like, okay, well, the husband is like, we just let him take care of everything. And then the wife just follows suit. And she was very young when she got married. So that made sense. And with society now, obviously things are different. Women are now sharing responsibilities. Now it's like, okay, well, we're paying half the bills, so it's different now. We can say that. So with that comes now women asserting themselves differently in relationships. Submission is looked at differently, so to speak. So growing up, my mom was very like, I grew up in the church, and I was very sheltered. I couldn't even hang out with my cousins. It was like, go ask your mama, go ask your daddy, can you sleep over? All that kind of, it's like, you go ask her, that type of thing. But I was really sheltered. So, and no, no, I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but they did, the best, because they didn't want me to be, out in the world doing wrong. And that was their way of keeping me in and not, I guess being, put in harm's way. But that kind of made me not know the world. And so when I got out in the world, I'm like, okay, I had to learn stuff the hard way. So I learned love wrong. And that's not their fault, but being sheltered from it, you learn it the world's way, so to speak. So I got married right out of high school because, and that was my first time being intimate with somebody. And, you don't know your body. So that I was dealing with that type of thing. I'm trying to figure out what your mama meant by washing her hands.
Yeah, explain, please.
I'm like, is that something sexual or ma'am? You said yourself and wash your hands. I was like, okay. But so I got that out of my head. I was like, okay, Faye, I'm not mad at you. But yeah, so with that, I learned a different type of love, because that was like, okay, I can't shack. So I'm not sure what you're thinking, sir. We can't live together. We can't, so what's happening here? So his thing was, okay, well then let's get married. All right. And that was my way out, really. I don't know if I jumped the gun, but that was my way out of my parents' house, because I felt like it was so strict there. I couldn't really do anything. My curfew was 1 a.m. in my first year of college. Come on, somebody. Hello? Look at your neighbor and say, that's too early. Okay?
I mean, you did live in their home. So that's a respectable time to come in so that they won't have to worry about you.
Well, whose side are you on?
I'm just saying, I'm a parent too.
Yeah, 1 a.m. was a bit much, I feel like I had proved to them that, I was a good, but still, so that was my way out, really. I felt like, let me, I'll get married and, I'll love this guy. I'll do what I need to do, but like Tya's husband was saying, I'm sorry, I forget, Pastor
Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah. Like he was saying, you got the scripture about the woman being submissive, and then you got husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church. Okay, well, what did Christ do? He died for the church. So you got to prove to your wife, so to speak, that you're trustworthy and that you're hearing this stuff from Christ, so that I can follow you and I can be submissive to you, right? So we can't just be submissive to just anybody, right? So when you get linked up with somebody that you're not really, I don't know if you're really following Christ the way, you kind of love kind of becomes hard. And so that was my first interaction with love. So yeah, growing up, to answer your question, growing up in that love. My parents definitely showed love in their marriage, but a little bit too much. And so it kind of led me to, 18 years in the house, but then 18 years outside of the house, growing up in the world, trying to figure out who I am. Oh, that could preach right there. Ah.
Yeah.
So a different question for you, Brian and Tia. You all have you have a daughter. Is she 19?
22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
So what have your conversations been with her? So Tia, as her mom, or do you say stepmom or do you say mom?
We say mom in our house because once you're mine, you're mine. So one thing about raising a child to understand love between parents is the two perspectives between the mother and the father. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to, her name is Kimberly, when I'm talking to her about love, it's about setting respectful boundaries for yourself and also seeking God when it comes to finding someone who's going to love you, because he will send that person to you. And I understand I was 22 at one time. Just to share my story, I was divorced when I met Brian, and I was married for 14 years before that. So I got married very young at 21. So not understanding really the dynamics of being in a marriage and how to love in that marriage. And like Marquella said, that submissiveness that comes in marriage, that seems like there's a timestamp on what decade, should have been submissive in one way or another, given that the roles are changing. However, what I've learned and what I do teach to Kimberly is that when you are seeking God and you're having that relationship with him and you're talking to him and you're praying with him about a man that's going to come in your life, it either sooner or later, you have to understand that, God's word stands firm. If we are to be in these relationships, we have to understand what our role is in these relationships. And just like Marquella said, there are fears of following a husband that is not following God, but our role still is to trust that he's following God and leading us in the right way, and God will deal with him, And so with all of that, Kimberly sees and she witnesses and she hears us physically talking to her about how to love and respect each other in our proper, positions in the home. And so a lot of our foundation, all of our foundation for love and relationship does come from God and what he mandates for the home and for the marriage. And so I'll let my husband speak.
Okay, I just wanted to add to this. One of the things that I found out in relationships, and I'm sure Deante as a male can understand, or he might even kind of get a light that goes off, because when I say this, it's eye-opening. One thing that I do around the house as a man is you don't have to submit to me. I'll already be submitting. I'm going to be running around here. You don't got to clean that up. I already cleaned it. You don't have to do the cars, gas. I already got that. I'll go pay your bills. I'll go buy everything. You'll catch on after a while. If a man stands in the right place, he don't have to say very much. He ain't got to beg you to submit, because he's submitting. So he's becoming the leader of the scrubs, the leader of the servants. That's what Jesus did for us. He died for us. He was hung naked on a cross. I'll say it just the way it is. But I just don't want it to seem like it's just la la land over here. We've had we had to go through some hard conversations to get to where we are. But the main thing I had to learn, I had to show her is I know how to shut up. I know how to, shut my mouth. Put yourself down, humble yourself. When you get into some of that stuff, it gets really sweet to a woman when she sees that you're down on your knees, not just on your physical knees, but you're spiritually humbling yourself before her and saying, I'm not doing this because I like it. I do it because God told me to. Now follow suit. You got to show somebody how to do it. Don't just always. Anyway, That's all.
And one more thing I wanted to add is that it took a lot of watching him and communication. I didn't come into this marriage as a submissive wife, period. I'll tell you, being divorced before hurt me. And so I was fearful, just like Marquella said, I was fearful of being married and making the same mistake twice. If that is, as honest as I can get. It's not saying that my first marriage was a mistake. It was a learning experience. And I'm always thankful for all my learning experiences in life. But when I came into the marriage with Brian, I was literally terrified to let myself go and to submit the way I'm supposed to submit to my husband and to God and all that kind of stuff. But I've learned, as Brian said, he set the example. He set the standard. He's like, I'm submitting to you. And then I turn around and I'm like, oh, I guess I better get my act together because he's showing me and he's showing me up. And, the fact that I'll say I'm 99% there. I still got my old ways. I'm 99% there, but I'm not a battered and tattered wife at all. He lifts me up every chance he gets because we have the kind of submissive relationship where we can mutually respect each other and honor each other. And it doesn't hurt, especially when you've prayed and prayed and prayed for your relationship to strengthen with God, to strengthen your marriage, to strengthen your bond together. That's all going to fall into place. There's no fear over here about submission.
And so Deante, Tya, Brian, and Marquella, they come from a more of, based off of the conversation and things that they're saying, is more so from a Christian-based point of view. I don't know if that's your point of view as well, but I actually want to ask a different question for you. Tell me about your ideal relationship and what is it that you want?
Well, okay. My ideal relationship would be ultimately what Brian said that I probably would understand. And that is just having someone who's more like a partner. I do understand the Christian ways and the Christian values of marriage. And I too do come from that. But I grew up with pretty much all women. Like my aunts, and my mom I didn't have uncles basically. And they didn't have brothers. So, and none of them stayed in their marriages, long enough for me to build relationships with, those guys to be uncles. So um, I didn't really see long-term loving relationships. So honestly, I always tell people I didn't really, learn what I wanted in a relationship or learn myself even, how to be a man until I was around 30. Like I said, I'm 39 now, and I learned this from my ex, which is another which is another reason why, I feel like I've been so tied and, bonded to her, is because she's like the first person that told me, you know what, you're wrong about that. She didn't just give me the pass every time I say something. She allowed me to learn. She actually taught me, and she was, like a few years younger than me, but she ultimately made me grow up. I tell people I grew up when I was, I was born when I was 33 ultimately. So I'm 6 years old right now. I'm still learning, and I haven't been in a serious relationship since.
Me too.
Right. And I haven't been in a serious relationship since her because of all the stuff that I'm still finding out about myself. So what I do know now is, if I was in a relationship, what my ideal relationship would be that person who you wouldn't have to ask me, to do anything. I look at all the men that are in my life now as examples. So again, thank you, Brian, for saying that. But I just, thanked my best friend yesterday for him being a great husband and father, because they all grew up with their fathers and stuff like that. And again, I didn't grow up with my father. I didn't really have male role models in my life long term. So I did look to their fathers, and I looked to them now. So ultimately, I think my boys all the time, you guys are examples. you know I'm at this point in my life, I'm the only one who's not in a relationship, the only one who's not married. You know what I mean? So it's kind of I'm just now getting back out there, and it's going to take a little while for me to fully say, okay, I'm ready for an actual relationship. I mean, Tia called me, the devil or the devil's advocate, but the truth is, yeah, like I am single, and I'm out there to the point where sometimes it's like, I don't even want to do this. You know what I mean? But you do it just because it's still a learning experience. I have women now that I'm just like, I don't really like you like that, but you're what I have right now. You know what I mean? You're who texts back, and I just look at it all as experience. But I am honest. I do let them know, how I actually feel, and I think it's about falling into place, where you should. So an ideal relationship for me would honestly just be, it would be a servant to my woman, and I haven't found that yet. Besides my ex, like when we were in a relationship, you know it would be waking up in the morning. If she says she's hungry, I'm already out the door going to Jack in the Box if I'm not cooking. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it was. I don't think that was taken advantage of, but she, like you said before, also she just had a different idea of love. She didn't come from a religious or Christian type background, and I did. Her thing was money, and not saying like in a gold digger type way, because she made her own. She didn't think that I cared enough about money, and she's told me that that scared her. Like I didn't worry about, credit and bills and buying houses or any of that. I just want to love you. Like that's it. And so most of the time after our initial breakup, we just ended up hanging out at the house, just on the weekends, because I don't think she took me serious enough to say, let's take that again to that next level where we're building together, like where we're outside the house and we're becoming an actual team. It turned into just fun. You know what I mean? I'm not even speaking just sexual, but I mean, it was just fun on the weekends. That's when we would do our Target runs and have fun in grocery stores and just shopping. She would take me out and do all that type of stuff, whatever. But now I'm like, the roles would definitely be like reversed. If I was in a relationship, when I'm ready for a relationship, it would be me being completely all in, and I would need to expect that from that woman as well. So yeah.
Okay. And are you on, and this is for you too, Marquella. So Marquella and Deante, are you all on dating apps? Are you looking? Are you waiting just for someone to approach you? Like what's going on?
I'll continue and then I'll let you go. But I'm on and off of dating apps, to be completely honest, because I know my intention is not good to be for being on there. So and I'm just like, we being real and candid and open. Like the intention for me being on there is to just meet women for casual, like reasons. Um, so me being honest, again, like I said, being, I do have morals and I am a Christian. I don't go to church all the time, and actually I haven't been in a while, but I still believe. So sometimes my morals kick in and it's just like, just leave it alone. You know what I mean? Just delete everything, get off of it, because I'm not there for the right reasons. But I'm not waiting on anybody to just pop up or, like tap me on the shoulder or anything like that. And now with the pandemic and everything going on, like we're not outside as much, so I'll see a woman and I'm like, I know she looks good under that mask, but it's not enough to make me tap her on the shoulder and be like, hey, because I just think it's weird. So I'm kind of in that odd space where it's like I'll see somebody and I'm like, you get that vibe. You just kind of know, like, this is somebody who I might want to, get to know or talk to based on, just the energy around them, not even just looks. And it's hard for me to, approach women now because I'm like, would it be weird if I'm like, you look amazing, and then they have a whole mask on? It's like, I like your hair, So honestly, I've given compliments to nails lately, to hair. Oh, that's a nice t-shirt. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get conversation sparked. But yeah, as far as dating apps, I'm on and off, and I'll delete them and then get back on, and when I'm feeling lonely and stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, I'm single. I was just like we said, I'm single.
And Marquella, what about you?
I have not touched a dating app since a while. 19, no. I yeah, well, because I just got divorced last year. So not really thinking about dating. Yeah, I'm not even, I don't even think I'm healed from that whole experience yet. Um, Nor do I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like when that whole thing happened, I was like, I'm just gonna be a little thought because I'm tired of being a good girl. Because the good girls don't win, like that really, I was like, let me just put, God, you ain't really been here. You haven't been a friend. So I'm just gonna put you on the little, like tuck you in this little corner here, and I'm gonna go out and just, do, so, but I couldn't do that because I'm not really, that's not me. But what is there, like Plenty of Fish? No, thank you. I don't know. But then there's like what, Bumble or something. I heard of that. I don't know. Is that something, or is that, yeah, okay.
Bumble, yeah.
Yeah, I
Women
don't
have to
know.
talk first on that one.
I wouldn't even know where to like start because I don't want to get up and get dressed. And I'm being honest. I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to like entertain in anybody, to be honest. I don't want to start over and learn somebody again. I don't want to like meet your family and see what I don't want to do that again. I don't want to like introduce I have a 17-year-old and a son and an 8-year-old daughter. I don't want to do that again. I'm upset that this person that decided they wanted to marry me and spend the rest of their life with me bailed. I'm upset. So, no, I don't want to do this again. You failed me. You promised me this and you gave up. So, I'm in a headspace where I'm like, no, like I don't want to do this again. And that's just, being honest. It's tough to learn somebody all over again and trust somebody. I don't have trust in me anymore, to be honest. I don't feel like people are being honest. I feel like people are really just being, like I'm being what I think you need me to be right now to get in. And then once I get in, then, like then I'll be my regular self, which is like somebody they're not, somebody I didn't know in the beginning. So I'm in a position where it's like, I don't want to go on a date. I don't want to get to know somebody because I know it's not going to end the way, I want it to end. And I know that's foolish thinking, or maybe that's, negative thinking, but that's where I'm at right now. So now I don't want to like put up a little, like type in information. I'm just not in that. I went dark, didn't I? Oh, wow.
No, but it's not,
I got really clear, didn't I? Wow. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
but it sounds to me, and maybe Brian, you might chime in on this because of your role in counseling parishioners and individuals. But it seems to me like you are hurt, and you, like as you said, you're hurt, and it's a healing process. And so, if anything, to me, as your cousin, my advice is to, yes, focus on you and focus on your healing. And I think it's okay to, if you haven't already, to seek professional therapy or counseling. And maybe it's a conversation with someone in the faith-based community, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's someone that's not faith-based. But then also, once you do heal and learn yourself and what you want, I would think that you said that this person wasn't who he said he was, but I don't know all of the details, and we've never really had a conversation about it. But it's kind of like, it's important for us to give ourselves the opportunity to learn someone and be a little more intentional. I don't know if you all did premarital counseling or not. Have you ever, so you did do that. So you, in your mind, you're doing the right things as far as the counseling and getting to know that person. So I don't know.
Listen, let me tell you.
Mhm.
When I met him, I was in the mindset where I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to date anybody. He was 6 years younger than me. Well, he's still 6 years younger than me. But I was I was in a mindset where I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm okay. Kind of like how I am right now. Like, I don't really want to date anybody. But he pursued me tough. I'm like, okay, well, you better come on then, all right, I'll try, and people around you can tell me, or can tell you that I really wasn't feeling him at first. I actually like being single. I maybe it's weird. I like coming home to myself and just, like, oh, right where I left you. Okay, come on, Netflix, what you got for me? Like, I like that. I like that my drinks are right where I left them, and I don't have to worry about, like, did you just drink half of, why would you do that? And just, go ahead and finish it. So like, I like that I love that. That's me all day. That's my jam. I like that. So adding somebody else onto my life was like, no, thank you. I'm good where I'm at. But he pursued me tough. And I actually, like, I was like, okay, he came up to the church, and it was his former church. But the church that I go to. I'm part of the praise team and all that. He came up to the church, and he was just like, okay, I saw her before. I'm interested in her. Let me come up to the church again and see what's going on with her. But I know that whole thing is like, okay, you trying to, give it to church girl so you can, like, advance your life. But that wasn't what that was. Trust me, I investigate these things. I'm like, Sherlock Holmes church girl, whatever that could be, in whatever. So I'm just like, okay, this is Deante, Deante, like, you knew about that, huh? You try to seek the church girl out. I know what you've been there, done that, huh? So, like, it was different. And I decided to go on a date with him. Okay, this turned out good. And he wasn't one of those typical guys. He signed up to drive on one of the church trips. I'm like, you better drive then, sir. All right. Okay, you're doing good. And this was really working out. I'm like, good job. I stayed incognito the whole time about this. Didn't let anybody know that we were talking, nothing. So listen, I took the steps. Trust. And now I know why God did this. Trust me. Like, I understand. I have a good relationship with God to understand why he took me through this process, to understand the purpose of it. I just don't know why I have to keep getting hit on the head and learn these lessons like this. Like, I got it. I get it. But it's just sad that it has to keep happening this way, because it's hurtful. It's hurtful. But oh, trust me, we did all this. We did the premarital counseling. We were engaged for a year. Like, we planned out my thing is, like, why would you go this far? Like, if you weren't ready to be a husband, we could have established that a year back, sir. You proposed. You did this. We shacked before we were even proposed, like, before we were engaged, before he proposed. So it's not like, I had an ultimatum or something like, oh, no. We can't live together until, we're engaged, bruh. And I need this size ring. I'm not even that type of person. I will rock a band with nothing on it. Like, I'm not even that type of person. So this whole thing could have been prevented. So it just was unnecessary. And trust me, like, I'm not trying to say that, like, I don't believe that there were red flags that I could have saw that I would have been like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was something that had to happen, and I get it, but it's just unfortunate. It's like, dude, you could have saved all of us this trouble. We had a wedding, like, yo, you could have saved us some money and just been like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. Okay. I'm not even gonna hold you. All right. Well, live long and prosper. We would have been good, but you took me through this whole thing. And then a year after we're married, you know what? I don't think I was ready to be a husband. Where did they do that at? I don't understand.
So that also on his end, it just seems like he wasn't mature, and yeah. So it's unfortunate, but life happens. Some people, you never know. I'm pausing it, and I'm being hesitant, but you never know in life, and it could be a possibility to where he probably could come back. And So never mind. I'm not. Are you all friends? That's what I'm saying. That sometimes that can be the healing process or the healing step, or just even on his end, you know what, I apologize. I did this. This is where I was at in life. I hope all is well. Okay, you too. Okay, great. I don't know. I mean, you don't always have to be on bad terms with a person. That's how you feel right now, but you never know later on. You know what will happen with that relationship, even if it's just a mutual respect for each other, and it's not an exchange of phone numbers. But you never know. You never know how that might end up in life. You don't know. We don't know. So go ahead, Brian, and then I want to check in the chat box. And we have so much to talk about. We can continue, but I think what we're going to have to do is schedule another show and come back and make it a part 2. So go ahead, Brian, and then I'm going to check in the chat.
Real quick, I just had a couple notes about that on how to deal with an ex. I put the way I deal with an ex is they put the good in goodbye. That's it. You're gone. I'm done with that. Another thing I said is I don't have an ex. I have a why. Why are you still calling me? Why are you still here? Why are you dealing with me still? After it's over, it's over. And I had one last thing. I have the list that I made of all the things that I miss about my ex is written right here on this invisible piece of paper. It ain't even worth having a piece of paper. It ain't wasting no ink. The things I miss about my ex is nothing. It's zero. That's it. So sometimes when you let somebody go, let it be done. Move on. There's another chapter that could be much better. And you know, that's what it sounds like. Marquella sound like, but I also wanted to say that Deante made a great point when he said, men grow up around 35, 40. We got a real issue. We God said it's not good for man to be alone because we do some stuff. It's just what we do. He was real with that. I like that. But yeah, we have issues, and we normally have issues and mature on up in age. So find a man that's around 35, 40, right in there. Maybe he'll have a more mature way of seeing relationships.
Maybe.
Try something different. I think for Marquella, I think probably an older guy. And I'm just so dodging this whole conversation about me. I'm so glad y'all talking about yourselves. So we have Chantel Randolph, and she's in Baltimore, and she says that she has learned that love is sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave sacrifice his only begotten son. Love gives. And so Quella, my mother, she's on YouTube, and she put the emoji. She was actually clapping her hands, and the translation from YouTube showed the word firsthand or first wash your hands or something like that. But it was an emoji, and that's just the way it came through. However, your sister, being who she is, LaToya, she had an explanation for what my mom was saying. And so LaToya says, washing your hands is an act of love by reducing the transmission of disease and harmful germs. That's funny. I thought that was funny. And you have a new sister cousin friend, Marquella, Tanisha in Nashville. She says, Marquella, you are now my cousin sister friend because you are speaking so many truths. And we have Alicia Hall. Alicia Hall is watching from Nashville, and she says, greeting everyone, and a special shout out to Pastor Brian and Dr. Tya from Dr. Alicia Hall in Nashville. And so glad for this forum on love and relationships. Much needed and great conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Hall. And we have Reverend Jenkins, and she's checking in. She's watching on Facebook, and she's in Bowie, Maryland. And this was based off, and we'll continue, but I just wanted to bring up her comment. When Marquella, when you were talking about your parents, her question was, how could your parents show too much love? And I think what you were saying is that they sheltered you out of love, but because they sheltered you so much, there's lessons that you had to learn kind of the hard way. or learn on your own when you came out in the world on your own. So, and we have Leslie checking in. Leslie, what city? And this is funny. And Reverend Jenkins says, "Amen. Wash your hands."
Hey.
So that emoji, that wrong translation, but we'll be finding meaning and definitions and stuff. So really quick before we sign off, I wanted to talk about love languages. And so there's this guy, I believe it was, oh wow, I forgot what year. It might have been 1995. I could be wrong, but and Reverend Jenkins, chime in because I know you know the name of the author. I think it's Gary Chapman, and he wrote a book and he talked about the 5 love languages, which is kind of a lot of people talk about. And so we have words of affirmation. We have physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. So those are the 5 love languages. And of those 5 love languages, again, words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, acts of service. With that said, for each of you, and we'll start with Deante, what is your love language that you give and that you like to receive?
Okay. And I know like normally it's a test that you take for that or whatever, kind of like in the book. I've read it also. But like I said in the beginning, I don't really remember ever, but just being natural, I would say that the one that I give, it's probably all of them, to be completely honest. Like every single one at different times or all together all at once. That's just natural for me. I am a giver, like I am, and again, I know we're talking, Christianity and things like that. I am a pleaser as well. So I'm not just meaning like in the bedroom. I mean, overall, I like to do things for people in general, especially in my relationship. So I would say all of them. Definitely quality time, but for me, quality time is my love language. I just like physically being in front. Like I don't mind texting, but I do not like taking phone calls. I don't like just being on the phone because my theory is if we can talk on the phone and you're close, to just come over. Let's just hang out, drink some coffee. We go sit somewhere and talk, park, whatever, movies, whatever. Let's be together. So I enjoy quality time. That would be my love language.
Okay. And what about you, Tia, then Brian?
I think the one love language that I express the most is affirmation. I'm my husband's biggest cheerleader, I hope, every day of his life. I mean, I'm there to support him no matter what and let him know he is the man, period. Nobody else is the man. And my love language that I like to receive is acts of service. Brian does a fantastic job of doing that. There's been times in our marriage, we've only been married 3 years, and there's been times when I was physically unable to do anything. I had to stay in the bed for weeks at a time. And he was there. I didn't have to worry about how the dishes were going to get done, how food was going to get, put in the refrigerator, how things were going to get cooked, how the kitchen was going to get cleaned, how my bed was going to be made, how my bath was going to be drawn, none of that. And so knowing that was my love language for myself, when I saw him express that, especially so early in our marriage, it actually was definitely a sealed deal that God sent this man to me because I needed that absolutely in my life.
I think mine are all 5. I'm like Deante. I try to do all. That's my manual. I try to do all of those. But the one thing I really like to receive is physical touch. I would like to say quality time, but if I don't get nothing special, then I have some problems. And so I'll be like, it's like medication. I need my medicine. And we didn't know what was wrong with me. We just see me just going, something's wrong. And we'd have a lot of trouble. But as soon as I got my medication, And then you wonder why we do so well. We do so well every single day. No front, no fake. We don't have to, because everything's, I know you know what I really need. Thanks. We figured that out. I know what you really need. We're going good. I give you your best life. You give me mine.
And we talked about it. That's the biggest thing. There was no question. What do you want from me? Okay. If you missed the point, okay, you're not giving this to me. So we talked about it a lot. So that helped for us to understand.
It is.
And again, words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, acts of service. Marquella, what would you say is your love language or love languages?
Yeah, I did the test, and I agree. Mine was words of affirmation is what I like to receive, and that's true. It's hard not to give what you like. That's really hard. You know, when you're in a relationship or just any relationship, it's hard for you not to give, you know, what it is that you like, but you have to learn how to give what that person, you know, their love language is. And then I feel what I like to give, I think, is more so like acts of service. I like to, when I see a need, I think I'm like, okay, how can I fix this for somebody? Or how can I, you know, what can I give them? Or so I think that's where I fit in that love language aspect.
I think for me, it's receiving gifts and acts of service on the for me to receive. That's how I like. And then I also, for me, the acts of service is that's how I communicate acts of service. And I would think, and physical touch. And when I say gifts, so I got this today, like this made my day, and it was coordinated. My mother called me one day and was like, "What's your address?" And then I came home. When I went in the kitchen, this was already set up with the water and everything. So I was like, "Zach, you did this?" And then I read the card, but it wasn't from my mom or Zach. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." And this the whole like the thought. It's the thought. It's not the fact that I got roses. I get roses in gifts all the time. It's just the thought.
Somebody came in your house?
Say it again, girl.
Somebody came in your house?
No, Zach did it. But my life, there was 3 people involved. Apparently, there was 3 people involved in doing this, and so that like I was like, "Oh, that was nice." But I like gifts all the time, like a couple times a week. But it's candy. It's like Skittles. It's like bring me some sparkling water because you know I like sparkling water. It's like just do things like pay attention to the things that I like. So that's what I mean. It's not like you can't buy me. And I think I've had guys that had to learn that the hard way. It's not that I'm being materialistic, but it's just that's the way I like to. That type of communication lets me know that you care about me and that you're paying attention. Again, just a piece of candy, the type of water that I like, just little simple things like that. Terry says that her love language is acts of service. And Reverend Jenkins says quality time. And Jimmy from Las Vegas. Hey, Jimmy says, one of my love languages is cornbread, no jiffy if she can. I got everything else. Me and Black woman need to date to get more clarity on that. Okay. And then I'll close out with the final comment from the host of In Your Ear Radio, LaToya. And she says that it warms me to hear these men show vulnerability and selflessness. There are a lot of good men out here, but some women have to learn how to embrace this and not take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
And at the point of end, also, Reverend Jenkins' actions speak louder than words. Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Tya, Reverend Brian, Marquella, Deante, for joining me today. I definitely want to do this again. So let's plan for sometime in March and we can do a part 2 and we can continue the conversation. as far as your social media and how to reach you, what I'll do, everyone, is I'll make sure that I put their social media accounts in the chat box in both Facebook and YouTube. And as always, I'm Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And you can always learn more about me at shantajackson.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.